Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Closing Out the Week with the Closers Podcast. I am your host, as always, Marco Alvarado. Before we get into the little guest I got today for everybody, just got to say, please follow us on Instagram at The Closers Podcast, on Facebook at Closers Podcast, and on our YouTube channel, please subscribe at The Closers Podcast, because we have videos now. So we have our audio, but then if you want to watch some sort of visual to go along with your audio, we have that too now. Something a little cool that has just been added to the slate of many things that we're doing with the Closers Podcast. Also, quick little aside, we do have a live stream this Saturday with myself as host / dungeon master in a special edition of the Closers Podcast, in which three previous guests of the show, along with one new guest, will be playing Dungeons and Dragons while also eating hot wings that increasingly get hotter and hotter and hotter. And it will be broadcasted live on YouTube. So be sure to listen to that and watch that. It will be at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the guests are Max Thogmartin, who has been on the political podcast that we've talked about the Democratic candidates for the 2020 election. Andrew Gale, who was on the NFL Talk bonanza that we had, where Chase Lovin and Thomas Wheaton and Poe and Ryan were on to all talk about NFL stuff. And then our new guest that will be on that one, Jesse Salinas. He is a really close friend of mine. He's a great dude, and he's super funny. And them three together, you get them in a room, you don't really need to say much because they'll entertain you for hours. So it's going to be really fun. You might see a couple other people, a couple other ex-guests, maybe make some cameos during the live stream. So be sure to watch because it's going to be really fun. And without any further ado, today's guest is my best friend, Gavin Stine. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Are you excited for that live stream on Saturday?
I had my mic on mute while you were introducing everything, and I got very excited. I'm freaking stoked. I'm going to be watching the whole thing, probably commenting the whole time.
Oh, yeah, please do. Please do. It's going to be really funny. I already know. I might make it a competition to, the first person that the last person standing, either standing in real life or standing within D&D, they get, a prize or something. Something small. Be funny.
Well, what I was going to say was I have definitely a bet on the first two to give up on the spice.
Oh, who?
Max and you are going to be the first two to tap out.
Oh, I'm not doing the spice thing. I'm just DM.
Oh, come on.
No, I can't.
What do you mean you can't?
I got to run the show. I can't be dying.
Okay. So Max is going to be first then.
Max is first.
For sure. He doesn't strike me as a spicy type. None of the other guys really do, but Max, for sure. And that's not like a slight or anything, because I'm weak. But
yeah,
I'm just being real.
That's hella funny. Well, we'll see what happens. Stay tuned and be sure to watch to see if Gavin's prediction comes to fruition. So, I wanted to talk today. We recorded a podcast about a month ago on the same topic, and it got deleted, unfortunately, in the mishap that was the Spider-Man live stream debate. So we're re-recording it. We're re-recording it, and maybe we'll be more coherent this time because we recorded it last time at 10 p.m. and we were both really tired, and we both just kind of rambled. So maybe this one will be better. Maybe there's a reason why we have to do this again. But we're going to be talking about college and all the amazing and I don't know. I can't even be sarcastic about it. We're just going to talk about how college, there's goods and bads that go along with it. And Gavin and I have definitely had our own experiences with this idea of a higher education. So, Gavin, where did you, after high school, where did you go to school?
Well, so long story short, because there's so many freaking variables involved.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I ended up down south at a community college called Irvine Valley College. Obviously, as the namesake entails, it's in Irvine. Went there for, God, I want to say like 3 years. Went to Fullerton for like 6 months, and now I'm at a different school.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And for me, out of high school, went straight to SF State for 2 semesters. Came back to Sacramento. Was at CRC for about 2.5 years. And now I am going to be at Sac State for 2 more years. And hopefully in one of those semesters, I'll be in Sweden, studying abroad.
You better fucking do that.
I'm going to do that. I will do it. I really do want to do it. I feel like it's like an invaluable proposition, an invaluable experience that I'll get by going over there. I'm going to.
It gives me an excuse to go to Sweden, really. It's entirely selfish why I want to go.
Please come visit. If any of you listening want to come visit me while I'm in Sweden as well, just let me know. But, so you and I, as I said, have had definitely our own experiences with college. But let's start with the good. What are some things that you have learned while you have been in school that has helped you grow as a person, has helped you progress in this thing called life in a positive way?
Well, I would say in school itself, the actual knowledge that I gained from school, for the most part, has not been super useful, but at the same time, the skills that I had to develop to get that knowledge, if that makes any sense at all, those have been very useful. And that is, the basic stuff like mindset and time management and how to study effectively.
Right.
But that stuff is that's all literally tailored to the individual person. What I would say I gained the most out of in college is my ability to kind of network and interact with different kinds of people and pretty much anyone. Specifically, I would point to Jules French, my communications teacher. I did a public speaking class, and that class, and then an advanced business communications class I took with another professor. Those two have had the most profound effect on me.
Oh, really?
Yes, in that they taught me... I don't know really how to explain it, because it wasn't like one-on-one communication that they taught, because that's stuff that if you don't have by the end of high school, then I don't even know what to tell you. That's bad.
How could you even really go to college?
Yeah, but it was mostly... specifically in the public speaking class, I learned that I'm actually a really good public speaker, and that the fear that was instilled in me about public speaking was not necessarily my own. It's that from when you're 5 years old, teachers are always telling you oh, more people are scared of that than death and stuff like that. It's kind of pounded in your head how scary public speaking is, and when I was in that class, I learned it's really not that bad. And that skill has transformed my life, along with also just some confidence building skills that I was taught in that class when it comes to getting ready for a speech. That I apply to every day at work. Every day before work, I still use the breathing strategies and the power poses and everything that I was taught to do before a speech. I apply to pretty much everything else in life now, and it's been so just transformative for me.
That's really interesting. Communications classes definitely I feel like are some of the most useful ones you can take in college, just because you can apply them to literally any interaction that you'll have for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It's
invaluable stuff.
Yeah.
For me, I know one of the biggest things that I've learned in college has just been like you said, it's not really been a whole lot about what you've learned in class. It's been just about things pertaining to school. So a lot of it's just the idea for me. I mean, because I went away. You and I both went away from our homes right after high school and went to school other places. But I came back. You still stuck it out. Still over down south. Good for you. Happy for you, of course. But with coming back, and I feel like you haven't even moved back, and you've learned also that like getting away from what you know just helps you appreciate everything that you have known for so long.
Certainly, yeah.
Where, you know, like when I moved away to SF, I really hated Elk Grove. I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to come back to Sacramento or anything. I thought it was a lame place. But then when I moved back after, you know, enduring for, you know, 6 or actually closer to 11 months in San Francisco, I appreciated literally everything. And I still to this day appreciate everything about this area more. The fact that I have my parents here who care about me a lot. The fact that I have friends that, you know, some people, they make friends in high school and then they lose track of them and they don't really keep in contact much, which I understand. I mean, people change a lot. But I feel like I've been very lucky to have made friends that were from high school that I still talk to this day, that are great people and are positive influences in my life, and I can see them being in my life for the foreseeable future. You know, they're not just stopgap friends that you have because, you know, you're only in a certain environment. So it's just made me appreciate just the little things more, because in life, if you don't appreciate those small things, it kind of makes everything else harder to enjoy. So that's like the biggest thing for me. But
yeah, and I completely agree. It's that the little things are kind of baseline in life. You know, without those, you can't really appreciate anything else, because if you're so focused on, and that's kind of I agree with you, that's a skill that I've had to learn, is to just kind of take a step back and enjoy the little things in life, because I'm a big picture person. I don't really acknowledge those things very often. Mm-hmm. And as a result, when I have these lofty goals and ideas of where I'm going to be and stuff, and when for a long time, I would look at my life and say, hey, I haven't achieved these major crazy goals that I have. I must be a loser, you know. Yeah. But developing that skill to say, hey, you know, I haven't gotten to that point yet, because that point is probably 10 years down the road. But look at what I've done in the meantime. Look at all these little things. Look at the people that I have in my life and stuff. They're amazing.
Yep.
You know, and appreciating that really is a huge first step to being generally happy.
Yeah. You have to give yourself credit, because I feel like in high school, a lot of people can relate to the idea of you just being too hard on yourself, because generally you feel like everybody's kind of looking at you and judging you, so you want to be up to a certain standard. And then once you get to that standard, and you know, the standards are then changed up on you when you graduate, because now these expectations, these standards are so much higher now. But that's the thing, you have a lot of time to achieve those things, so you don't have to push yourself and rush it. You know, you can get there, and it's not a race. You know. And that's the thing, too. There's these people that come out of high school that think, I have to finish college in 3 years. I have to load up on classes. I have to get done. You know, I have to be done with it. I want to be done as fast as possible, which I understand. I mean, maybe you don't have a whole lot of money. You'd rather just get it done. I get the reasons why you'd want to do it. But there's some people where it's just like they do it just because they still have that idea of being better than everybody else, and I feel like that's such a terrible reason to want to finish school early, because there's so many experiences that you have in school that you'll never have again once you graduate. I don't know, like what do you think about that idea?
Generally, I'd say I agree, but I do got to give a little bit of pushback when it comes to the mindset of the people who go in intending to get out in 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say the people who go into college saying, I'm going to get out in 3 years because I'm going to be better than everyone. I was one of those people. Those people do not make it out of college in 3 years, because what happens is very fast they realize that they may not even realize it, but their priorities are in the wrong place. So they get a defeatist attitude once they hit a class that is a little bit harder than they expected. Right. And they end up, I'm not going to say they drop out necessarily, but they end up definitely slowing down their pace. I'd say that the people who end up actually making it out in 3 years are, you know, they're either the people who, you know, have been kind of trained to focus on school first over everything else since they were little kids, and I feel bad for those people.
Yeah.
Or they're the people who they want to do it because, you know, you hear all these things about, you know, the 5-year bachelor's degree now. You know, for a long time, for decades, it took 4 years to complete your bachelor's degree. You went in, you did essentially another term of high school. You come out with your degree, you get a good job. Our generation, maybe a little bit before us, was the first one where they said, yeah, no, people are going to take about 5 or 6 years to get out of school now.
Yeah.
So you have a group of people who see that as a challenge almost, who are, you know, they tend to be smart, you know, witty, savvy people. And they go in doing this. And both groups, both the ones that were raised, you know, to focus on school first, and the ones who see it as a challenge to take on and some like an accomplishment to pat yourself on the back for. The sad fact of the matter is, you know, major props if you do get out in 3 years. That's kick-ass. You clearly are a luminary individual. But what you realize is 9 times out of 10, you're in the same spot as anyone else. You end up having to do some job that you are way overqualified for. You're working at fucking Subway or something at, you know, you get out of school at 20, 21, and there's really not a direct path forward. Because, you know, the dirty secret about the way it works in this country right now is, yeah, we have more jobs than ever, but those jobs are entry-level positions. They're not what you would expect when you get a bachelor's degree. So we have a lot of kids in our age range who get out of school early. They're proud of themselves because they got out in those 3 years, and now they're being told, hey, you know, you expected to come out with your, you know, your biological sciences degree and maybe start med school and work at like a lab or something in the meantime, but instead we have a position for you at Arby's. You know.
Yeah, exactly. It's it also that also pertains to the idea of how there's people, which, you know, some people like this, I know some people like this. I feel like everybody that is listening to this knows a person at least that is like this, where they value education over experience.
Yep.
So they focus all their time on getting the best grades they possibly can. And in some, you know, like you said, in some countries, that's enough. In some countries, that's what they look for. If you have the best grades, you'll get the best job.
In
but
some
in America,
fields, that's enough.
Yeah, that's true. In some fields, it's not even just location.
Yeah.
But overall, if you have the experience, you'll have a job in what you want. And like I don't know if you can talk too much about it, but I know in your field of work that definitely rings true, which is something that I feel, because you're majoring in finance, correct?
Business with a focus in finance, but yeah, same difference.
Yeah, and you're able to apply some things that you learn within your degree at your job, which is something not a lot of people can do. So that's an invaluable experience to your to further your profession, where a lot of people just focus on solely, I'm going to just do my work now and then I'll look for jobs later, and they don't even intern or anything.
Yeah.
To get that experience. What do you think about that idea, and why do you think people think that way? Why do you think people just solely think about school sometimes when they shouldn't?
Well, I'll take those in reverse. I'll start with that. I think that a lot of, and again, I think this is kind of starting to fall out of favor as it becomes more and more obvious that a bachelor's degree in anything isn't necessarily a step forward, that school is not the whole answer. I think as that becomes more obvious, more kids in like the 14 to 17 range are probably being taught something similar to what we've realized now after years of school. But a lot of kids in our age range and older, you know, the reason that we think like that is that's what we were taught growing up. You go to school, you do well in high school, you get into a good college, get good grades at the college, you show up to your first interview with your I got a 3.98 GPA, and your foot's in the door. You start out of school with a $60,000 a year job immediately, just like that. That's not the case. We've learned that's not the case. Everybody knows that's not the case, but yet still we teach our kids this. That's, I guess you could say cynical perspective on it, but it's,
it's very accurate.
Yeah, it is. It's what I've seen personally in my own life.
Yeah, same here. That's what I was taught too.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand that.
And when it comes to like myself, when I work in finance, and this is not necessarily the case at every institution. I don't want to give people the wrong idea, but by and large, if you have two people sitting at your desk and one has no experience in the industry, but they both went to, we'll say, Sac State. That's an easy point of reference.
Yeah.
Both went to Sac State, both majored in business. The first one has no experience in finance whatsoever, only ever had part-time jobs where maybe they worked as like a cashier or just basic service industry stuff, but they got a 4.0 GPA. They were on the honor roll. They were one of the best students. They were Sigma Pi or whatever the hell you call the top people.
Fucking fraternities, whatever.
Yeah, or like the valedictorians of college. Yeah. Then the other guy you has about 4 years of experience in the industry, has a solid, and this is important, has a solid record, performance-wise. You know that they're a good worker based off what you've heard from other people you've talked to, based off of their references and stuff. And maybe they don't have the greatest GPA. They went to Sac State as well, but, they dedicated so much of their time to work that school kind of fell by the wayside a little bit, but they got their degree. I guarantee 10 times out of 10, person B gets a better position than person A simply because of that experience. Yeah. Experience, at least in my field, and that's all I'm comfortable speaking to, is...
Sure.
I guess I could say business generally, experience is of a lot of value because you learn a lot of things in day-to-day operations that you will never learn in school.
Right.
And it's hard to kind of pin down exactly what those are, but if I were to use a blanket term for it, it'd be soft skills. Schools do not teach soft skills, and even when they do, even when you're in a class that teaches that's like communication, interpersonal communications.
Yeah.
It tells you what those skills are and defines them really well, but it doesn't teach you how to use them and how to cultivate them within yourself. You really only ever learn those through experience, and that's why it's so valuable.
Yeah. And
it can't be discounted.
Oh, definitely. I wholeheartedly agree. Even, where I work, just thinking of when I first started at that job that I'm at now, that I've had for a long time, and where I'm at now, just how I'm able to talk to people. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this podcast if it wasn't for those soft skills that I was able to forge by working in somewhat of a business atmosphere. Even though it is still customer service, there's a lot of business things that we have to do, and we have to carry ourselves a certain way and all that stuff. So it is very interesting how experience does play a part in overall, success when it comes to using your degree. It's not just getting the piece of paper, but everybody says it's not about just getting the degree, it's about how you use it. Yeah, sure, but you can go a little deeper. I feel like, no one really talks about that specific part of it.
Yeah, because I really don't like that saying that it's not about whether you get your degree, it's about how you use it. That to me is the silliest thing you can say.
Yeah.
Because there are a number of people who, I majored in Southeast Asian history, and now I'm VP of finance at fucking Boeing or something.
Yeah.
There's a ton of people like that who major in something completely different than what they end up working in. And there's this misconception that it's sad when that happens. But the fact of the matter is, you talk to those people, and a lot of the times they're going to tell you that, I chose this major because it was a passion of mine. There are just simply no jobs regarding Southeast Asian history other than being a professor, and I'm not going to school for 10 fucking years to do that.
Yeah.
So it's not a sad thing when people end up in a different field than what they majored in. What they majored in could be just entire. Like my grandfather. Mm-hmm. My grandfather got his bachelor's degree in, I don't remember which order these are in. I think he got his bachelor's degree in history, and then he got his master's degree in art.
Uh-huh.
His ideal career was to be an actor. History has nothing to do with acting. Zero, absolutely nothing whatsoever. He
Right.
studied it just because he enjoyed it. He knew that he wasn't going to be a history teacher or, the next... God, I can't think of any historians off the top of my head. That's sad.
I couldn't either, personally.
But Dan Carlin, he's not a historian,
Okay.
but he talks about history. He wasn't going to be the next Dan Carlin. He knew that. But he ended up a very successful man, and that's simply because it was more about his experience and his willingness to apply himself than anything else.
Yeah.
And that is really, really important. And that's not to say pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because that's another saying that I'm not a huge fan of. But
Same.
I'm saying professionally speaking, that general idea does apply regardless of what your major is.
Yeah, I agree. And also, another example, we have a very good friend that majored in history.
Yep.
And now is working in finance. Same
Yep.
thing that kind of Gavin's doing, and he majored in history. And yeah, he's living the dream.
Yep. Your
That's
two best friends are in the devil's business, Marco. How does that feel?
Pretty good actually. I know I have people that can help me with certain things if I need it. Yeah, I mean, the more unethical people sometimes that means your life overall is a little bit better. So, and I think for me that might be the case. Let's see. So with college, what are some things that you would suggest for people or kids that are coming out of high school, or maybe even the parents of kids? What are some things you would suggest for them to keep in mind when looking at schools, or trying to figure out which way they want to go, where they want to push their kid to go? What do you think about that? What's your little rant about that?
Well, for parents, what I would say first off is, when it comes to what your child majors in, get the hell out of the way. Don't try to steer them in any certain direction. You can have conversations about degrees and all that, but don't push them in any specific direction, because the two things that'll happen is either they'll start on that path, eventually fall off that path, do what they want to do, and then resent you, or they will end up going down that path, getting a degree in that field, going into that field, and then resenting you. It's not fair to anyone. Just don't do it. Yeah. Second, honestly, just have an honest conversation with your kids about expectations when it comes to schools. There are a lot of kids who, in high school, they dream, I'm going to go to Boulder University in Colorado. And that's really cool, and it's cool that they aspire to that they're aspiring to go to any university, but you have to set the expectation, because frankly, out-of-state tuition is too expensive for a lot of people.
Right.
And if that is the case for you, just have the honest conversation with them early in high school, not when they're getting ready to apply for schools. That way, once the time comes, and you tell them, you can go to any state in our state, any school in our state, because we can afford it, but out of state, you're gonna have to at least pay for some of it or get financing or something. That's on my mind, because I have a colleague of mine struggling with this right now. But
right, yeah.
For the kids, what I would say is, don't
little kiddies.
Yeah, don't view college as an escape from your current circumstances, because if you view it that way, first of all, it's not healthy. It's not going to get you where you want to be. I personally, when I got out of high school, I wanted nothing to do with anyone in our town. I wanted to escape. I was in not the best living situation at the time. I don't blame anyone for that. It's just the way that life falls sometimes. And I viewed it as a way to get the hell away.
Right.
So I moved down here, and honestly, up until now, even though it kind of waned in the last year or so, but for a very long time, I regretted that decision every single day of my life, and it affected my happiness to a degree which I can't even really explain with words.
Right.
Because as soon as I got down and I was away from everything, what I realized was all I did was put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. number one. I didn't actually fix any of the issues with myself, because you know, all I did was change my circumstances, but really the problem was internal. And it just made things challenging that really ought not to have been. Also, what I would say is, if you don't get into your dream school, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't let it discourage you. If you don't get that UC Berkeley degree, it's okay. You can go there for your freaking master's degree if it really means that much to you. You just got to kick ass in your bachelor's degree. It's okay to go to Sac State. It's okay if you grow up around here to go to Cal State Long Beach. That's perfectly fine. Don't worry too much about that kind of stuff. I guess this tangent that I'm on, but the whole point of it is pursue your passions and be pragmatic. Be pragmatic, because even if you do have to go to school in your hometown, even if it's more cost effective and you have to go to your community college for a couple of years first, you're still in college. You still have escaped the Sisyphus-like rolling the boulder up a hill that is high school. You've gotten out of that.
Yeah.
And you have a long road ahead of you. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. But at the end of the day, you still have gotten at least to the first stage of adulthood, and enjoy it. You know?
I agree. Yeah, you have to enjoy it. And then, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with everything. Another thing I would add, though, is, like, be honest with, because you used to, like, if you said with parents, have the conversation with your kids early on in high school. Which I agree. I wish I was talked to early on in high school about what was realistic and what was not. But even with yourself, be honest. Because for me, I mean, you went pretty personal, so I'll go the same way. When I was coming out of high school and I wanted to go to SF State, I didn't even really want to go. But it's what I already told everybody I was going to do like a year prior. And I didn't want to be that dude that randomly changed my plans and then have to be asked about it and be perceived as like, oh, he's just a loser who's going to stay in Sacramento. He's not going to do anything and he's just chilling. You know, like that's all he wants to do. I didn't want to have that perception because I cared too much about what other people thought, you know? And what I quickly realized when I went to SF was that those people don't fucking matter at all. And I knew that before I left, but yet I still wanted to please the people that didn't really matter to me. And that decision, although looking back now, was it helped me a lot, learn a lot of things. But if I am curious to see how it would have gone if I just wouldn't have left. I feel like I would be out of school. I would have been out of school a lot faster. I still have 2 more years to go. Whereas if I would have not have gone to SF State and gone to a community college instead, or even to Sac State right out of the gate, I probably would be done by now. So it really just depends on your own situation, of course. But if you're really struggling with knowing what you have to do as opposed to doing what you've already said you do, you have to just be honest with yourself, and it's okay to be honest with yourself and just accept what you're going to have to do. So.
I completely agree with all that. I mean, not to go back on what I said earlier regarding leaving, because you know, I regret leaving, and it makes me sad that I chose to do that. But paradoxically, I know that if I had stayed, I don't think I would have gotten out of school faster. I think I probably would have dropped out at some point along the way, and I'd probably be burnout or dead right now, or in jail.
Yeah.
Because I was just going down that path, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's that kind of weird part of my mind where I have to kind of make peace with it, where moving makes me sad. It was like I said, the hardest decision I've ever made to date, and I regret it quite often. Not it's not a daily thing anymore, and I can't even say that I'm really actively sad about it anymore. So, you know, But I know logically if I had not done that, if I had not chose to make that leap, I would be in a very dark place right now.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I definitely know. But it's just crazy too to just kind of put a bow on the entire conversation, just how that decision to go to school or not to go to school, to which school you're going to go to, if it's going to be a UC or like a private school or state school or community college, or you're just going to do vocational, or like, I don't know, just like you're going to do like a trade. Just that decision is such a huge one. And it's pretty wild how in our society, in our culture, it's just accepted that the first decision that a person makes in their life, solely on their own, or at least they should make it solely on their own, is arguably one of the biggest decisions they'll ever make in their lives. And it's just crazy for like that. Basically, all the teaching, everything that you learn up until that point when you're like 17 and you're coming to the decision of what you're going to do after high school, everything kind of brings you to that point. And I just look at other societies across the globe that allows for the youth of that society to go off, for a year and just like explore and like just live or whatever, like I think Germany does that, right? I think, or something. I forget which country, but
yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. They what they do is the kids are kind of put into different programs based off their proclivities.
Oh, okay.
And then
that's probably what I'm.
Yeah, then when you finish high school, they put you in a whatever program you're best suited for. Mm-hmm. And it's very much aspiration driven, whereas ours is very much like, I don't even know what ours isn't driven in any direction.
Yeah,
it doesn't get kids ready for the professional workplace, and it does not inspire people to go in any certain direction. It's just this directionless freaking mess with teachers who don't give a damn about any of their students.
Yeah,
that's not to hate on high school teachers out there. Sorry. But.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I think there are some like European countries where they're like, after high school you could take like a year holiday or something to go, and maybe I don't know which country it is, but I know that there's some country out there that does that, but I just feel like that's a positive thing, and that would help a lot of people out in just figuring out what they want to do, because I mean, like you said earlier, there's people who change their mind on their majors a ton of times. I know a lot of people who have changed their majors over 2 times. And, like, just to be that young and to make that big of a decision, it's just crazy. But maybe that's the best way, I don't know, for people to learn. I don't know. It's just weird.
Well, I think that at the end of the day, what we really need, more so than a mandated year off, would be what I think would help is just a shifting of expectations and of our perspective on it. Like it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. I don't even remember what I was saying it about, but you're taught this growing up. They give it word service, I suppose. They say, oh, it's okay to change your major. Everybody's going to do it. But it's implied that you want to just do it and stick it through, because that's how you get out of school the fastest. So it's they say it's okay to do, but at the end of the day, you have every incentive not to do that.
Yeah.
And again, just being a human, you don't want to feel like you're going back on your word by changing majors and stuff like that. It feels really shitty to do that.
Yeah.
And you have to physically go in and sit with your counselor and explain to them why you're changing majors and stuff. You have to like justify why you're making a decision to make yourself happier in the long run. And that to me is absolutely batshit crazy that we make kids do that, and it's totally messed up. But what I would also say, just to cap off what I was saying, this is something that I'm going to steal from my dad that he always tells me is, no matter how far in one direction you feel you've gone, you can always change your mind.
Yeah,
you can always change your mind. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. If you got a degree in a certain subject, you've worked 10 years in that career, and you decide suddenly at the age of 32 that you want to be a video game designer, it's going to take work. You're going to have to learn how to do that. It's a whole new vocation. But you can do it. It's not unreasonable to change your mind at any point in life. Yeah. And I think that idea is very sorely missed in our society, that it is okay and it is possible to change your mind. And we have this kind of pessimism when it comes to that, where like you get like the Dilbert cartoon where you have the dude stuck in the crappy cubicle office job, just a day away from shooting himself. And we teach kids growing up that that's the way it's going to be. If you make the wrong decision, you're going to be Dilbert in a cubicle hating your life.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be the case. That's entirely on you. You can actively change your life. You can change your circumstances. You have that power.
Beautiful. It's true. You have the power, people. Those of you listening. Mm-hmm. If you're not happy, you can change what you're doing, and it's okay to do that. Just like what I did. When I wasn't happy in San Francisco, I came back, I changed, and now look, I'm pretty happy. Lo and behold. Never thought I'd say that, but I'm pretty happy. So, yeah. Thank you, Gavin, for coming on. I know you'll be on again, of course. If not before Aftershock Fest, definitely during that weekend, we'll probably do an Aftershock recap or something. So,
hells yeah, man.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on. We will be back, tomorrow. By the time you're hearing this, tomorrow will be that live stream. So please subscribe on YouTube. Although we post about on Instagram, so please follow us on Instagram at the Closers Podcast and at Closers Podcast on Facebook. Like that page, because everything that will be posted on Instagram will also be posted there. And hope you had a great time listening. We'll be back tomorrow and with the normal podcast episode the following week. You have a great day. Bye.